Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight's Arvin Lamont CSC. Since it is 5 o'clock, we can go ahead and get started with our logistics slides. And our first step is to set up our interpretation for this evening. And for those instructions, I will pass it to Tanya from Lingüística. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos a su reunión de hoy. Queremos recordarles que, como siempre, tenemos la interpretación ya disponible para ustedes. Si ustedes desean escuchar la junta en español e ingresaron con una computadora, en la parte de abajo de su menú van a ver un mundo o un globo. A veces puede ser que aparezcan nada más los tres puntitos que dicen más o more para que puedan encontrar donde dice interpretación. Una vez que encuentren donde está el globo donde dice interpretación, seleccionan español. También pueden silenciar el audio original para que nada más escuchen la voz del intérprete. Si ustedes ingresaron con un teléfono móvil o con una tableta, sus opciones se van a ver un poco diferentes. Necesitan tocar su pantalla y van a buscar el menú de los tres puntitos que dice más o more. Usualmente está en la parte de abajo de su pantalla. Si no lo ven al instante, pueden deslizar su dedo un poco hacia la izquierda, donde van a ver más opciones, y ahí pueden encontrar ya sea los tres puntitos o donde diga interpretación. A veces también pueden ver ahora el mundo con las actualizaciones de Zoom. Cualquiera de esas opciones que ustedes vean que diga interpretación, lo seleccionan, después seleccionan español, nuevamente silenciar el audio original y por último, muy importante, el botón que dice done, listo o finalizado. Si necesitan ayuda, pueden dejarnos saber en el chat y con gusto les ayudamos. Ahora voy a dar esas mismas instrucciones, pero en inglés. Hello, everyone. Welcome to your meeting. This is just a reminder that, as usual, we have interpretation available. If you are a monolingual English speaker, we do ask you to please select the English channel. That way we can communicate with each other. If you're joining with a computer, you will see a globe at the bottom of your Zoom menu. If you don't see the globe right away, maybe you see three dots with the word more. You can click those three dots and you'll see interpretation. Select the globe or where it says interpretation. Select English, and then you'll be done if you're in a computer. If you're joining with a cell phone or with a tablet, your options may be a bit different. You need to tap your screen and find the menu with the three dots with the word more, either at the bottom or usually it's at the bottom, but sometimes now it's on the top. If you don't see the three dots, you can slide your finger to the left a little bit to find more options. You could see the three dots or sometimes the globe where it says interpretation. Click there and click English. At the end, it's very important to select done to finalize your options. If you need any help, please let us know in the chat and we can assist you to choose your correct channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanya. This is Liz. So as usual, I'm going to pause for a moment as we finish setting up interpretation. So I'm going to wait until I see that thumbs up before moving on. Okay. Thank you, Tanya. And as Tanya mentioned, if anyone is having any issues accessing your proper language, please do let us know either in the chat or also feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt our meeting so that we can assist you and make sure that everyone is able to engage. So we will continue through our housekeeping slides. And here we have a reminder of our naming conventions. We use these because they help us with our attendance tracking and the stipend distribution process. For our CSC members, we ask that you designate that with the letters CSC in your Zoom name. And for residents who are a part of the stipend program, please also put the letter R. And if you are not able to change your name, you might see one of us change it throughout tonight's meeting. For all other attendees in tonight's meeting, if you are joining as a representative of an agency, we do also ask that you designate that in your Zoom name. And if you are joining as a member of the public, meaning you are not a registered member of the CSC, we also ask that you designate that with the letter P. and we will make sure to call on you during our designated public comment. On this slide, we have a review of our virtual meeting etiquette, where we ask for folks to stay muted unless you are speaking. And if you are calling on the phone, you can press *6 to mute and unmute. And if you have a question or comment, we also ask that you raise your Zoom hand. And if you are calling on the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. And one final reminder here is for residents who are a part of the stipend program to stay on for at least 75% of tonight's meeting to be eligible for the stipend. On this slide here, we have a review of our group agreements. And before we move on, I'll just briefly revisit some of these to help ensure that everyone has a meaningful opportunity to participate. These agreements are especially important just given the limited time that we have and the large number of voices that we have in this room. So looking at the step up, step back agreement, this reminds us that if you tend to speak often, we do ask that you try to create space for others. And if you haven't had a chance to share yet, we really encourage you to step into this space. We really want to hear from a range of perspectives and not just a few voices. And on the point of keeping talking points brief, we also agreed to keep those comments concise and connected to the agenda item that we are discussing. And because we don't time individual comments, it is important that everyone helps to self-manage so that we can stay on track. And when comments drift away from the agenda, it can take away time from our accomplishing of the meeting goals. So as your facilitators, part of our role is to uphold these agreements consistently. And as you may have seen previously, this sometimes means that we may interrupt or redirect speakers if comments might become too long or move off topic. And so if that happens, we want to share a reminder and emphasize that it is not personal, and this is a part of our practice to honor our shared commitments. We appreciate everyone's partnership as always in making this a respectful and productive space. So thank you. And on my last slide here, we have our agenda. We will finish up our welcome and introductions briefly and then move on to a review of our action items tracker. Then we will have an update on the urban greening and vegetative barriers. Next, we will have a discussion on the Clean Air Rooms program with some building of consensus. Then we will move on to our usual standing updates before we wrap up our meeting and have our final public comment. And so I will stop sharing my screen and just want to welcome everyone again to your 60th Arvin and Lamont Steering Committee meeting. Thank you all for being here tonight and for continuing to dedicate all of your time, expertise, and lived experience to this important process. For our opening remarks, I would first like to invite our co-leads to share some of those. And I see we have Cesar here tonight, so I will invite you to share some opening remarks.
Yeah, just a big thank you to everyone that's joining us tonight and reviewing the agenda. Seems like we're again getting the power to approve and make positive changes in the community. So really glad that everyone's here tonight and want to remind everyone of how powerful we are in this space and the ability that we have to make change in the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Cesar. Well said, as always. And to finish up our welcoming remarks, I'll invite Stephanie from the Air District.
Thank you, Liz. Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Stephanie from the Air District. I just want to also welcome everyone to this meeting. I hope everyone had a restful holiday break and you're enjoying this kind of, rather unusual cool weather that we're getting as we're headed into June. Like Cesar mentioned, we have so many exciting updates to share with you all. And this meeting, I think, really is just one of those great examples of how the work that we get to do through AB 617 really isn't possible without the collaboration through lots of other agencies that support us. And so in advance of the presentations you'll see tonight, I want to thank the city and the county for being here to be a part of some of the projects that we're working on for urban greening. And yeah, thank you all for being here. Excited to hop into all the topics we have.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. This is Liz. So at this time, I will transition us to the next agenda item, which is the review of our action items. As you know, we do this to help facilitate transparency and accountability, and our team in the Air District are continuously updating the action item tracker to ensure that the community's requests are documented and that you all can stay informed on the progress towards implementing your suggestions. For this agenda item, Nancy will be providing updates only for the action items that are not included in tonight's agenda. So any items that are related to tonight's updates will be reviewed then. And as usual, if you have comments or questions unrelated to an action item, we will add that to the tracker for follow-up after this meeting. And this helps ensure that we have enough time for our main agenda items tonight. And so I'm going to pass it to you, Nancy. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. This is Nancy. I'm going to be going over the action items and share my screen. And there we go. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. And then, so yes, this is just a routine check-in. And so we will be going over the last month's action items, which we only have 3. And then, so I will go ahead and start in the in progress section. And so during the last Arvin and Lamont CSC meeting, we did briefly talk about the residential lawnmower battery issues. And so currently the district is working with the manufacturer on bringing you all resources and tools on best practices to maximize the electric lawnmowers. And so for now, if anybody is having any issues, please get in contact with us so we can help you out and go over your options. These batteries do have warranty on them, so we want to be able to assist you as best as we can. And then we'll go on to comment noted. So during the last meeting as well, we had a comment that was made to include fence line monitoring data to future air monitoring updates. And so as the Air District works on future air monitoring updates, district can consider inclusion of other data sources, which can include fence line monitoring data. So thank you so much for that comment. And then lastly, we will go over the completed section. And so this was regarding DPR to share a link, well, for the Air District to share on behalf of DPR. And so this was regarding the DPR EJAC meeting. And we went ahead and shared this link via email on Friday, April 24. And so that concludes the action items. I'm happy to open up the floor for any questions. And of course, if you think of a question later on, please go ahead and note it down in the chat.
Thank you, Nancy. I see we have one hand up from Cesar. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Following up on something that's, I think, either an action item or like a comment that was made by the representative that was here from CalGEM in the March meeting. They offered to do some monitoring around some of the folks that express concern with strong smells here in Arvin. So I've been connecting with some of those folks and trying to find a time when those smells are strongest. And just want to note that while we're still doing community outreach, I think we're kind of wanting to expand it a little bit more outside of just the Nelson Court area into the DeGiorgio Park area, because there was a community forum where quite a few folks were complaining about strong smells that happened in the DeGiorgio Park area, I think like Friday or over the weekend. So if y'all have like any experiences with those strong smells that happened around DeGiorgio Park or experience strong smells near DeGiorgio Park often, please feel free to either like drop it in the chat or just let me know. I can put my contact info, and then that way I can forward that to the Air District Inspector that's responding and investigating this, and then also CalGEM, because there is an inspector that went the morning that reports went out and is in contact with the Ag Commissioner's office and trying to find out what the smell was from. So just letting y'all know that there's an inspector with an open investigation, and if y'all have any additional information, please feel free to reach out.
This is Liz. Thank you so much, Cesar, for adding that, and do encourage folks to add that information in the chat. And I see Cesar shared his email where you can share that directly with him. Thank you. I'm not seeing any hands raised, and I don't see anything else in the chat. So I think we can close out a review of the action items tracker for now. And next, we will transition into an update on both the urban greening and vegetative barrier RFP efforts. And for this item, we have the Air District Grants team who will be sharing updates on the 2 proposals that were submitted for urban greening, sharing the final plans from both the city of Arvin and Kern County based on feedback from several discussions with the CSC over the past several months. And in addition to those urban greening updates, we will also hear an update on the status of the vegetative barriers RFP process. And after the presentation, we will of course open the floor to any CSC questions, comments, and discussion on the proposals. And towards the end of this item, we will also be checking in with the CSC to see how folks are feeling about approving the urban greening proposals tonight, or if folks might need more time to think. And so with that, I believe we have our grants team here. I see quite a few folks.
Hello.
So I'm going to pass it to you. Thank you, David.
No problem. Thank you, Liz. Good evening, everyone. My name is David Lopez. I'm a supervising air quality specialist in our grants department. And I have the excited pleasure and the excitement here today to introduce to you some projects that we received in regards to our request for proposals for the urban greening program for the communities of Arvin and Lamont. If Nancy, I'm not sure if you have the presentation, if you could share it for me, please, I'd appreciate it.
This is Nancy. I can pull it up.
Thank you so much. Perfect. Thank you so much. So yes, once again, my name is David Lopez, and I'm excited to present to you these 2 projects that we received for this community, and looking forward to hearing feedback and any questions you may all have, and hopefully kind of get us moving to doing some planting in your area. So thank you. Next slide, please. So in developing our request for proposals, our grants team here has listened and was, provided feedback from community members in Arvin Lamont on, the things that they were looking to see, locations that they were looking to have trees planted at. And with some of the feedback that we received, we developed our RFP, and we opened this request for proposals on February 24th. The program has $500,000 available for the program, which we closed our request for proposals on March 27th, and we received 2 proposals, one from the city of Arvin and one from the county of Kern. After review of these applications for completeness and eligibility, we've determined that these these meet the criteria of the program, and we recommend awarding both the city of Arvin and the county of Kern since they meet the requirements and they demonstrate the ability to have effective implementation of the projects in the program and planting trees in your community. Next slide, please. To start with, we'll look at the City of Arvin project. The purpose of their project is to plant new trees and reduce community exposure to air pollution, as improving environmental conditions and providing long-term public health benefits for the community and its residents. The City of Arvin is partnering with Bakersfield College to do a portion of the project, and they are proposing to plant 150 trees in the community and expecting around a 2-year period for the project to be implemented and completed. And they are requesting a budget of $250,000. Next slide. There you go. Thank you. So in their proposal, the City of Arvin has identified some locations that they are proposing to plant trees at. The first one would be Smotherman Park. And then the next would be DeGiorgio and Felicita Park. And then also along some street corridors, along Hill Street, Tejon Highway, and Mahan Drive. And here are some visual images of the plantings for you all to look review. We have all 3 parks that the City of Arvin is proposing, looking to add more trees to those facilities and bring in more greenery to the community. And then also on the next slide, you can see the additional streets that the city is proposing to plant their trees at and providing further benefits to the community. So, here we have a little breakdown of the proposed budget that the City of Arvin is looking to do for the project. They are once again requesting $250,000. Just over $179,000 will be for the trees themselves, supporting the materials to plant the trees, any kind of poles, things like delivery, tax, and then of course the irrigation materials needed to plant those trees and to keep them growing in the community. And then additionally, they'll be requesting some money for labor and construction of over $54,000. And then of course, they'll be requesting some funds to rent equipment to help with the plantings of those trees. Further on their budget, the city is requesting no administrative costs. They will be utilizing their own existing staff and resources to support the project. And with that, their budget has been marked out where they do not need potential contingency costs for any unexpected things that may arise during the implementation of the project. So, next slide. Next, we're looking at the County of Kern's proposed project. Their project purpose is for new trees at the proposed location will improve air quality and enhance overall beautification of the community while providing more trees in their park in the community for everyone to enjoy. The number of trees that are being planted, proposed to be planted, is 54 trees, and there's going to be a variety of sizes for these trees to support the community's park. And we're looking at a 2-year period for the project to be completed with trees planted and installed. And the County of Kern is requesting a budget of $250,000. Next slide, please. So looking at their project, they are looking to provide roughly 1.644 acres of canopy over canopy covers, provide more shade in their Lamont Park. This, as you can see, kind of the rendering here, there will be more trees supporting the redevelopment of this park and further providing the benefits that, such as environmental benefits, and then of course cooling for everyone to enjoy while you're at the park. So, thank you. Next slide. In terms of their budget, it's fairly similar. We're looking at about $183,000 for estimated project costs, which can include labor, trees, the maintenance for the trees, any services, and then of course signs and interpretive aids. In addition, they were requesting $46,000 to support the implementation of the project through their staff time. And then of course they have some contingency costs in case there's anything that might have come up during the implementation of the project for easy transition of the project. Moving forward, that's pretty much it. If you look on to the next slide, before we start the vegetative barriers update, was there any questions regarding the 2 projects?
Thank you so much, David. This is Liz. I do see we have one hand up from Mario. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, right there in Lamont Park, didn't put trees, but when this park was supposed to be built, they're supposed to plant trees, new trees. They already have like $6.5 million or something like that to build this park. Uh, the trees, I thought they had that already planned out with the trees on that location.
In their presentation, I'm sorry, in their application, sorry, I'm the one presenting. In their application, they did identify that they had received state funding to do things such as plantings and obviously redevelopment of the park. I think with our park, with our portion of the funds, we are help providing more trees into the community and putting them in at this location.
Yeah. Two, I was gonna say, is Fuller Acres gonna get any trees?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Fuller Acres ain't gonna get any trees to plant on certain locations?
At this time, this is what the County of Kern is proposing in their application where to plant.
Okay, and how could we get an application to put for Fuller Acres?
I'm not exactly sure, why other sites weren't chosen, but for the County of Kern, this is the one that they are proposing for.
Okay, because I mentioned it the last meeting for Fuller Acre to get a couple of trees.
Dave, this is Stephanie. I wonder actually, I know that we do have, so as part of this process, we wanted to make sure that we invited both agencies to be able to answer questions that may come up about their respective proposals. So I do believe we have a representative from Kern County to talk about that. I wondered, Dawn, if you can maybe share a little bit about the selection of that site. I know that I've heard a little bit from Isaac about that being kind of the main area that Kern County has jurisdiction on to plant in the area, but I wonder if if you wanted to share a little bit about that, Dawn.
Dawn, I think you are still muted. There we go.
Does that work? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Fuller Acres Park is a small pocket park in Fuller Acres. It is completely planted. There are perhaps 10 or 11 trees already there, and it's a very small lot.
Well, what I know is they plan to have a bus stop around there. It'd be nice to plant a couple of trees around there on those locations like that. People could be under a shade or something.
The pocket park is the only county property, so we can't plant anywhere else.
Okay. All right. Well,
Thank you, Mario. And I see we have another hand up from Jesus. Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted some clarification because I remember in a meeting or two ago they mentioned that if they're able to get the trees approved, they wouldn't have to remove some of the services or some of the structures. But on this plan, the Lamont plan, I don't see the gazebo that was mentioned to be next to the library, and I don't see the skate park that was also part of the original plan. So then does that mean that with or without the trees, those services or those structures will be removed?
Isaac Preston has better information about the scope of work for the Lamont Park. I believe the project going on at Lamont Park is over budget, and what happened is they had to remove some of the amenities, the recreation building and the skate park. That's why they don't show up on that plan of ours.
Okay, and I don't recall if the gazebo, was the gazebo and the amphitheater one thing, or was it two different things?
They may have also had to eliminate the gazebo and the amphitheater, if I remember correctly.
Sorry, following this line of thought. I recall that other parks were also approved during the same time that the Lamont Park was approved. Are they seeing the same cutbacks on their amenities?
Lamont Park was the only county park that was approved as part of this Proposition 68 statewide parks program grant. Lamont was the only park for that grant.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jesus. Appreciate your close attention to detail. We do have a couple more hands up, and we can go to Maria Estela next. Thank you.
Sí, está bien. Hola, buenas tardes a
Yes,
todos.
good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to share my comment about the Arvin project. It seems very good to me because the community was walking with the person from Public Works here from the city of Arvin, and we were choosing the places where we want those trees planted because we are lacking in those places and some of the parks that we need to plant some more. And the best thing for me is that where we are planning to plant those trees, we already have the water. We don't have to add the water pipes because those trees will already have water. And for me, that Arvin project seems very good because the community was choosing the places where to plant those trees. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comment. And we can go to, oh, I think I saw another hand up, but it might have gone down. Are there any other questions or comments? How are folks feeling about those two urban greening proposals? And we know that it probably is difficult to satisfy everything that everyone was hoping for with the limited funds. It seems like the two agencies did the most that they could, and this is what they were able to propose for folks tonight. And yes, I see a hand up from Gustavo. Go ahead.
Mute. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think I was going to ask. I think you kind of answer my question. The question that I had is, do you want us to make the approval this evening, if possible? And if that's the case, I think, as Estela mentioned, I think in the past, both residents of
Gustavo, sorry to interrupt. Your audio cut out. You were just talking about Maria Estela's comment, was the last we heard.
Yeah, that if both projects, the one for Lamont Park and the one for Arvin, I think we had conversations on those two projects, and if we are going to make a decision to approve them, I'm in favor of approving the two projects. And Diana Mireles is here with me also.
Thank you, Gustavo. And Stephanie, I see your hand up. Not sure if you wanted to respond.
Thanks, Liz. Hi, everyone. This is Stephanie, and appreciate the questions we've gotten, and also, again, those agencies present to answer questions. Maybe just to help clarify from Gustavo's kind of comment, we're at a stage, and I know we've been so lucky through this process that kind of even before the RFP was submitted, that we had agencies come and present kind of their intention, and they could hear from CSC members really early on about your feedback. So we are at a stage now that we have opened that request for proposal. We reviewed that, and internally at the district, like Dave had mentioned, in the request for proposal, we have requirements, and those requirements really are telling us whether or not we think these agencies and this project is going to successfully be able to plant those trees. Both the proposals that we've gotten for this project, we feel that they meet those requirements. So we as a district do recommend that the CSC to the CSC that these projects can move forward. So I think maybe to Gustavo's point, unless we hear any kind of big objections from the group, these are projects that we actually can get ready to, move forward with, contract. That way soon these projects and these agencies can start getting this work done in the community. So I think that's maybe the ask of you all. Again, if there's no major objections that we're hearing, these are projects that we think fit the criteria. We think we feel confident that they will execute successful plantings in the community. So again, if we don't hear any big objections, like we as a district think that these fulfill those requirements and we can move forward with, we can move forward with them, again, given that we don't hear any kind of objections from the group.
This is Liz. Thank you for clarifying that, Stephanie. And we can go to Cesar next.
Yeah, thank you. I think looking back at the previous RFP that was submitted by, I think, like an organization that was out of the region, there was a lot of pushback because it was a lot of money that was going to be used for a short amount. But I think this is two proposals that both fall within the scope. And I think it definitely sounds like not only are they like shovel ready, but they have a lot of the bigger issues and barriers to these types of programs checked off, like the water infrastructure. So I think this is a much bigger or a much better improvement in terms of the one that was rejected last time. And I think not only does it fall within the budget, but also it gets to benefit both Arvin and the Kern County areas of the AB 617 purview boundary. So I'd like to just have like a full-hearted support of both of these programs.
This is Liz. Appreciate that comment, Cesar, and your leadership on these issues. And we do have one more hand up from, I think, Joanna and family. Go ahead.
Di lo que me dijiste.
Tell them what you just told me.
Buenas tardes.
Good evening. We were talking and we were saying, yes, no, well, I think we need to move forward with the 3 projects because the 2 communities agreed already or on where to plant the trees. So I think it's time. I don't know how you say this, Victoria, like to just, you can just say that. I don't even know how to say that in Spanish. How do you say move forward?
Para avanzar.
Sí. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. So I am hearing, at least from a few CSC members, support for these 2 proposals for urban greening. And that would mean that sooner rather than later, folks are going to be able to start seeing these trees come up in your community. I believe we heard previously that there are some constraints with timing and planting, making sure it's not too hot. So if folks are able to come to consensus around this tonight, that would mean progress is able to be made sooner. But do let us know if any concerns are coming up. And Joanna, if you have another follow-up question or comment, let us know. I'm not sure if that's a new hand or an old hand. Okay. And so we can go to Pedro. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope all y'all doing well. Not sure if I'm able to talk because I am one of the applicants that applied for it, but I wanted to just echo what Doña Stella and what Mr. Gustavo said. I truly appreciate the community for working with us on this project, and it was a great adventure getting to know them and then getting to know the process of how to write a grant that's going to make a positive impact for the community. I'm just here to support and ready to pull the project if we do get awarded.
Thank you so much, and really appreciate you being here tonight to be responsive to the community. And I'm taking a look at our chat, and I don't see any comments, and I do not see any hands raised. I think as we heard, if we can come to consensus, and if we're not hearing any major concerns with these two proposals for urban greening, then we will consider that approval from the CSC, and the Air District will go ahead and get started on making progress. I heard quite a bit of support, and I see more from Cesar in the chat. And so one last time, if there are no major concerns, then I believe we have approved these two proposals from the city of Arvin and also Kern County for those urban greening projects. Thank you everyone for participating in that process. And thank you again to the city of Arvin and Kern County for being really responsive to the community in developing these proposals. Any final thoughts before we come back to our vegetative barriers update? Go ahead, Stephanie.
Thanks, Liz. This is Stephanie. Maybe the last thing I'll say to kind of, last thing in this meeting, I promise that as we kind of work through this process, you all will hear lots of updates about these projects, but maybe just kind of to help wrap up and just share with you all next steps. There is some work that we as a district have to do to be able to kind of finalize and contract with both of these agencies. And so that our district now hearing kind of that CSC's support, our district team, Dave's team will work on kind of that process. Something that we have done in other communities that we'd love to do also in Arvin and Lamont with both of these projects is to be able to do some planting, events that we can invite the CSC out to make sure that you all can be a part of that process. That's really, one of our big goals with some of these proposals. So look forward to that in the future as well. And like I said, we'll definitely, as we kind of move through this process, you all will get lots of updates as these things start to unroll in the community. I did see Olivia's hand up too. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Great. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to the Committee for Better Arvin, for all of those community members here in the city of Arvin who actively came out and walked the streets. Thank you to our Public Works Supervisor, to Pedro Barlaza. This has been just a really beautiful community partnership, and we're so very excited and just thrilled that this has been approved. So thank you also very much for your support, and we're just really looking forward to continuing to work in a collaborative way to green our communities. So thank you for this funding. It's really going to make a huge difference here for our residents. So thank you again for all your support. And we're excited for these upcoming events, like you said, Stephanie, where we can bring folks out and have these beautiful planting community celebrations.
Thank you so much, Olivia. This is Liz. I know folks really appreciate your presence in these meetings and your continued support of these programs. And I think we can come back to, I believe we have another quick update on the vegetative barriers RFP. So thank you, Nancy, for pulling that up. And Stephanie, you can take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I'm going to wrap this up. So Dave just gave an awesome update, and we're super excited to kind of hear the CSC support and be able to move forward with the urban greening proposals that we got. You all may be wondering the other kind of tree planting, greening type project that we're working on in the Arvin and Lamont area are the vegetative barriers. But for that project, we did open an RFP, and Nancy, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. Um, for that project, we did have an open solicitation. The request for proposal was open for quite some time. And I just want to thank lots of folks because we, through the process when the RFP was open, did work with a lot of folks in this group to do outreach. We connected with some of the businesses that you all recommended, some of the organizations you all had helped us connect to. And so I just wanted to thank everyone for all of that that support in those outreach efforts. The RFP closed on the 14th, which was, as you know, was only just a couple weeks ago. So we don't have a full update yet because our team is still kind of vetting what was received. But I did want to give a high level update that we did receive one application that was in the weed patch area. Right now, our grants team, Dave's team, is working on reviewing the application. I've mentioned this before. It's not like a quick back and forth, like, front and back application. We require them to submit, a budget, a scope of work and things to just show that so that we can be confident that we know that, they can do and execute this work successfully. So our team is actively working on reviewing that application. But something that we do know based on kind of our initial review is that the applicant did not apply for the full amount. So what that means for us is that there's still funding remaining in the vegetative barriers measure. And so with that, we will open the RFP once again, and we will continue to conduct outreach. As you all again had kind of helped support in that first opening, like we so ask that if you have contacts, if there's folks that you know of that could participate, we ask that you definitely share those contacts and share information about this program. Once the RFP is officially open, we'll email and let the CSC know that it's officially open, but it should be soon that we'll be able to do that. And then like we saw in today's presentation, once our grants team has had a chance to review the full application and kind of check how it fits with the criteria in the request for proposal, just like we're doing today, we'll bring back the actual proposal for you all to look at and kind of see what's being proposed. So that's our update with vegetative barriers. I'm happy to take any questions or comments about that or, urban greening as well.
Thank you, Stephanie. This is Liz. So we are going to pause and see if there are any questions or comments coming up, both about the vegetative barriers update that you heard and also anything coming up for urban greening. And go ahead, Gustavo.
Yeah, just a quick question. I know that I think you mentioned that you're going to present kind of the full application, but the application is for a project is to be built near Arvin, near Lamont. Can you share that initial information?
Gustavo, oh, sorry. I'm not sure if his question fully came through. Were you able to catch that, Stephanie?
Yeah, I think I had just I think we just heard a question of where, like what area it is. My understanding of this project is it's in the weed patch area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we have another hand up from Tim. Go ahead.
I had a question. We were promised to get information or flyers on how the Air District promotes the vegetation barriers like a couple meetings ago, but they were never shared with the group. I know me and Don Estela had wanted to see how they're being proposed to farmers and through agricultural businesses around the community or the boundaries.
This is Stephanie. I do believe, distinctly remember this conversation, Tim, because we made a few edits based on your recommendations. And I do believe we actually did follow up in an email that we sent that flyer out. Maybe wondering, maybe looking to Nancy, and I don't know if Nancy, if you can, if you're able to maybe drop in the chat that flyer that we did reshare out, or the date that we sent that out to folks so that they can go back and look in their emails. But if not, we're happy to resend it and standing updates to this email too. But I appreciate, Tim, the feedback that you gave, because I think it was really great feedback of just trying to find other ways that we can entice people to participate in the program. So we had edited some of the and updated some of the language and the wording to describe vegetative barriers based on that feedback. And I think we sent it out. But if not, Nancy, let's go ahead and drop that into the chat.
This is Nancy. And yes, Steph, we did send it out March 23rd, but I will go ahead and drop it down in the chat.
And then my second question regarding greening and urban greening is what is the county's policy regarding commercial developments and urban greening? Because there's a lot in front of north of Lamont. There used to be a Rite Aid. It's being converted to a new store. It had vegetation, or like it had trees all over the sidewalk to provide shading for people walking. And the new developer came and trimmed them in a way where you can tell the trees are not going to survive the summer. So when businesses go out of business and new businesses come in, is there a policy regarding providing shading and sidewalks or not? That's like a county question, but it's kind of in the same subject about green urban.
This is Stephanie. But we had the county kind of for that update, and I do believe at this point they have hopped off the call. So I do think we can track that and follow up with the county just offline and via email. And then we can follow up, Tim, with you on that response.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. This is Liz, and I'll just note that we can add that to our action item tracker for follow-up. Are there any other questions or comments coming up about vegetative barriers or urban greening? Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing anything. And as you heard, this is not going to be the last opportunity for you to hear these kinds of updates and share your feedback. So more to come as more progress is being made. And we can officially close out that agenda item and continue moving through our agenda. And at this time, we will have our building consensus discussion on the Clean Air Rooms program. And just as a reminder, during the last CSC meeting, the CSC reached consensus to expand the residential program to allow up to 2 filters per household. And tonight's discussion is a little different, but we'll still build on that conversation by exploring opportunities to expand the Clean Air Rooms program to include additional sensitive receptors within the community. And so the Air District will provide an overview of the proposal and potential options for that expansion. And then we will open the floor for questions, discussion, and feedback. And then after time for discussion, we will work towards identifying whether there is consensus from the CSC on those potential next steps. And so with that, I will pass it, I think, to you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Liz. This is Stephanie again. I'm going to ask us all to kind of pivot a little bit. So we were thinking a lot about trees and urban greening. I'm going to transition us a little to another exciting, hopefully residential update for you all. That is one of our CERT measures, which is some updates and some opportunities with our air purifier programs. We did, in preparation for this update, did get a great question and suggestion of before we kind of hop into that, to just take a step back and see kind of how we're doing at a high level across all of our CERT measures. So I'm going to start there before I kind of dig into the the purifier part of this presentation, though. So I do believe I know the group has seen this kind of this graphic a lot, but I will kind of walk through what you're seeing here just to help orient everyone, which is this graphic is showing what is kind of remaining and kind of in progress for all of our SERP incentive measures. So on the very left-hand side of the screen, those are kind of listing all of the SERP incentive measures that we have. And then with each one of those measures, there is a green bar. And the dark green color there indicates how much funding has been spent so far in the community. And then the lighter green bar indicates to us what funding is remaining in that measure. And you can also see that by that number that's in the box. So for example, with that first measure, commercial lawn and garden, we've made some progress in it, but there is a good amount still remaining that's indicated by that light green bar, which is $110,000. So won't go through kind of every single slide because we're going to go through some of those details later, but I will lead this up for a second and say that we are seeing some really great progress across all of our residential measures. For example, I mean, air filtration we're going to talk about later today, but even some of our other programs like our vehicle repair program, we're seeing great progress. We're it looks like about halfway through kind of that funding. Residential lawn and garden, we're more than halfway through that. We're still making progress on a couple of measures. I know in the last couple of meetings, we've let you know about a couple of measures that we really could use your support on, which is the public fleet vehicle measure, which is for public agencies to apply for fleet vehicles. It could also be special districts. It could also be, other agencies and schools. So that's an opportunity, as you can see by that bar that's indicated we have no applications yet. So there's still $400,000 remaining in that measure. For example, school bus replacement also is a measure that we're still working on. There's $1.6 million allocated to that measure. We have shared with you all in the past that we do have applications that we have received, but we're still working through that process with the school district. So for now, until we kind of are able to go through that full application process and contract, that funding is still remaining in the community. I'll pause here because I do see a hand up. I'm happy to take questions as folks have them.
Thank you, Stephanie. Go ahead, Mario.
Yeah, I want to know, could we use some of that money to use it on fixing up roads or sidewalks on certain areas?
This is Stephanie. Thanks for that question, Mario. I know that I have heard some of that. We've heard some of that feedback in the agenda setting, and I'm glad I have a chance to kind of share it in the bigger meeting. And some of what we've kind of shared in the agenda setting call, when we have heard this feedback, is throughout the SERP, we've actually spent a good, a rather large portion of the funding, $12 million out of $30 million has been allocated to road paving projects. And so right now with the funding, there's lots of measures that we are still seeing in progress. We want to give folks in the community time to apply for these measures so that they can benefit from these programs. And then as kind of the opportunities come up, we have discussed funding reallocations, but at this time, we really are trying to seek out projects that are high emission reducing projects. Paving projects definitely do bring a lot of community benefits, but on the kind of public health emission reducing side of things, we don't see as many emission reductions as we do from some other programs. And so we definitely at this time, based on how much funding that has already been allocated to paving projects in the SERP, we're really trying to find opportunities to reduce emissions in the community because that's really what is bringing a lot of public health and air quality benefits. So that really, we want that to be the focus of where any funding reallocations go.
Yeah, okay. Good enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Mario. Always
I'm not seeing, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
thanks, Liz. Always appreciate that feedback. I will keep us going here. As always, as we continue the SERP implementation, we will continue to bring updates on these measures. Sometimes we'll zoom into some of the measures as we have kind of specific updates, but I think it's great feedback to always take a step back and kind of see how we're doing generally, which we're seeing lots of progress, and then also lots of opportunities for continued outreach and program enhancements, which is what we're going to talk about today. I did, before we start, kind of want to give an update about the Clean Air Rooms program. Again, this is, I know many folks in the community are very aware of this program, but this is the program that provides free air purifiers to residents throughout the Arvin and Lamont community. Based on the feedback that we got from you all of supporting this, opening up this program, the Clean Air Rooms program opened of September of last year. And since then, it really hasn't been that much time, but we've seen some really great participation through this program already. And I think that's really a testament to how much outreach I know that lots of folks on this committee do for the program. I know that a lot of you have applied yourselves, you've told your friends, your neighbors. And since September, since we've opened this program, there was originally, the CSC had supported adding $250,000 to this measure, which gets us about 5,000 purifiers in the community. Since I think we pulled these numbers I think a couple days ago, but we have made progress and spent about $216,000. And that's about 1,000 purifiers. And so we have about $31,000 remaining. I think there's a little bit, there might be a little bit of change there. As I'm seeing the numbers aren't exactly adding up, but I do think these are kind of estimates that we have of there's about enough funding for 144 additional units in the community, which will, I think there's lots of opportunities for other folks, but that number is, running relatively low. So we want to talk to you all about some other opportunities with this program. Just as a reminder to folks, since the program again opened up in September, we've worked with this, of course, the CSC and different community groups in the area to do lots of outreach. We've attended a ton of events. I know a lot of you know Danny and Nancy from our team. They're regularly out in the community, along with a lot of other folks on our team, to attend events at schools, to attend different, community events. To be able, and every time since the program has opened that we've been to an event, this has really been a big push for us to help sign residents up for the program. In addition to that, we've of course also do kind of traditional social media. I know you all have, I think many of us have seen us in different Facebook groups. We work with schools, different community centers, and we coordinate with lots of community groups that are in the area to do outreach on this program. Pretty recently, and I think we shared this update previously, but if you didn't hear this update, we did work with you all to do a direct mail outreach campaign. We have heard that feedback from CSC members that they wanted to kind of test out this method of getting mailing out directly to residents in the community about this program. So we did work with an advertising agency to send out a mailer, this postcard that you're seeing here, with information about the program. There were over 8,000 mailers that were delivered, and kind of following that, we see a huge spike. Our team regularly tracks the numbers from this program, and following that mailer campaign, we did see a huge increase in calls our team calls to help assist folks in applying for the program. Now, I kind of want to, now that that's generally kind of how we stand with the program, I'll take a step back and kind of before we dig into opportunities, I did want to talk about what kind of generally air filtration looks like and different opportunities that kind of already exist with the program. When we think about air filtration and improving indoor air quality, there are, several programs that folks can go through, whether or not, one of those being the residential one. So we've talked about this one a lot, but of course you all know there is a program for homes, like your folks and residents in the community to apply for a purifier in their home. And like Liz mentioned, just in the last meeting, the CSC supported expanding that effort to allow for folks to get a second purifier in their home. But another opportunity that we do have that the district has a program on is the Clean Air Centers program that we run. This is a current, This is a current program that the district runs, and the purpose of this program is to help create a network of what we call clean air centers, but essentially it's kind of a network of different public spaces that people can access really high quality air purifiers in these spaces. And kind of the main purpose and driver is especially when there's wildfires or other episodes of poor air quality, these clean air centers open up for the public to be able to access, again, that clean indoor air. Some of kind of traditional places that you might think of that could take advantage of this program is like a library, different community centers. They're different public spaces in a community. So this is an opportunity that is available. As of now, we don't have anyone in the Arvin or Lamont area that has applied, but this program does have funding. So if there's any spaces that or folks that you know of that could apply, again, thinking like a community center, a library, those are all great candidates to go through this program. But there is existing funding through the district to be able to participate. So those are two programs that already exist. Those are the two left boxes in the presentation. Where there's a new opportunity for this group to consider is, and it's something that we've kind of discussed with other AB 617 groups, is kind of expanding this program and allowing for other sensitive receptors in the community to be able to access this purifier program. And some examples would be schools, daycares, child care centers, senior living centers, and nursing homes. So again, this is kind of the expansion opportunity that we want to focus on today because there's no existing program or funding to be able to allow for any of those entities to apply currently. So like I mentioned, we have a couple of opportunities to help continue to enhance our Clean Air Room program. That first opportunity is based on the continued participation that we're seeing in this program, including in the last meeting, the CSC supporting a second purifier. The CSC can consider reallocating an additional $250,000, which would get about 1,100 additional units for residents to apply for. The second opportunity that exists to enhance the program is to reallocate $250,000 to support, again, those other sensitive receptors. So that could include different schools in the community, daycares, preschools, and senior living centers. So I'll talk a little bit about what the expansion to those sensitive receptors could look like. And again, what really allows us to kind of spend these funds in the community, or one kind of pathway, is that CARB puts out these guidelines about how we can spend incentive funding in the communities, all of our 617 communities. And they do have a specific section for improving indoor air quality. And so these opportunities we're discussing kind of already align with those CARB guidelines, which is great for us as a group because it's very streamlined. We don't have to submit any additional kind of documents or requests to CARB. But kind of what the opportunity here is to, again, expand our Clean Air Room program to include some of those other sensitive receptors like schools, like daycares, like senior living centers. Where this does differ from the residential program is for these kind of bigger types of facilities, we'd actually look to do more commercial size units, and that would depend on the size of the facility. Again, there's an opportunity to reallocate. We think based on, and I'm going to show a map in a little bit here, but kind of based on our initial research of the different kind of facilities that could apply, we think that about $250,000 is a good place to start with this effort. But of course, we will, as kind of, if the CSC is supportive, we would bring updates to you all and kind of adjust that number as necessary. And of course, just because we're working on this expansion, that doesn't mean we're going to change anything about the residential side. We're still going to continue outreach there for those residential in-home purifiers. So kind of in our initial, just to help prepare for kind of this discussion, we did go through, and huge thanks to Nancy on my team for working on this project, is just kind of going through an exercise of kind of all of the facilities that are in the area that could potentially apply. We just wanted to get a sense of what that number looks like. And if the CSC is supportive of it, we can already have like an initial list of folks that we can reach out to for outreach. So this map here that you see on the right side, I know some of the dots are a little hard to tell with how big the map is, but there's different dots in different colors to indicate senior centers in the area, daycare facilities, elementary, middle, and high school. And then we have, from that list, we have, I think in my count, about 60 potential applicants that we can do outreach to about this program. And we're definitely open to feedback from you all. If there was some, if there is interest in this and there are specific facilities or areas in mind, Nancy's happy to take that feedback. And I know she's been diligently kind of, doing outreach on all of our measures. And we definitely want to make sure we add them to our outreach list. And with this, I know that there were a couple of different kind of concepts here. So hopefully to make it a little bit clearer of kind of the different opportunities, we did lay it out in kind of a table format of kind of what the proposed enhancements for this program would be in a little table here. And that first line kind of shows what is the existing program. So our existing residential air purifier program has allocated, based on kind of the feedback that we got from you all, $250,000. We've made great progress through that, and there's about $30,000 that's remaining in that existing currently open residential air purifier program. And so the two additional things that you all can provide feedback to us on tonight is adding additional funding to the residential air purifier program, which is at the amount of $250,000. And then in addition to that, $250,000 of additional funding for those sensitive receptors. So that would be things like schools, daycares, childcare centers, senior living centers. And what that would take the total funding amount for kind of the air filtration measures would be to $750,000. So at this time, we have a couple of slides that we typically use to help guide the discussion, but at this time, that ends actually my presentation. And so I think at this time, I will pass it back to the facilitation team. I'm happy to hear any feedback, any questions that folks might have about either of these enhancements. And yeah, just generally any feedback that you have on these air purifier programs. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephanie. This is Liz. So we have a decision to potentially make and at least discuss together, as Stephanie mentioned, to expand the Clean Air Rooms program. Curious how folks are feeling about that proposal. Any questions coming up? Any concerns? Yeah, go ahead, Gustavo.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I really like that idea. Just to share in the chapter project, 617 project, the residents identify, the public buildings as one of the, potential projects to install air filters. And I think one of the part of the outreach from the district to the school, they are, the agency outreach to them. But I think the school, because it was during COVID, I think the school got funding from the government to do the air filtration. But it was important for the residents from chapter. That's the point that I want to make. So I like that idea, to extend that project to include, public buildings. I think the only question will be, are these the Arvin and Lamont school districts did apply for air filtration systems as the city of chapter did, but if they didn't, I think it makes sense, part of the efforts that I think throughout California, agencies, government, and nonprofits are trying to work on is on, climate resilience centers. For when it is too hot or too cold for communities. And I think adding this air filtration for public buildings, I think that's a direct benefit, to reduce pollution and improve the health protection of our community. So I support that idea.
Thank you, Gustavo, and appreciate you connecting this effort to what Shafter has done as well. And I see your hand, Stephanie. Feel free to respond.
Thank you, Liz. And yeah, I agree. I appreciate Gustavo for you bringing kind of the kind of wisdom of the Shafter group and also just the connection to climate resiliency. We do a lot of air quality work, but obviously those things are related. I do actually, so glad you mentioned that comment, Gustavo, and because I did want to share some information about, because as I can't recall how much discussion we've had in the Arvin Lamont group, but I do want to share maybe some just feedback about what we're hearing from schools, as Gustavo mentioned, because there were actually a handful of other AB 617 communities that, started earlier on, where they were selected earlier on in the AB 617 process and had school air filtration. And like Gustavo mentioned, Shafter is one of them, where at the time when the Shafter CERC was written, this was, as we were implementing it, this was during COVID. And what we had heard at that time, this was kind of the 2021 range. At that time, we were hearing a lot of feedback from schools that they had taken advantage of COVID-related funding to upgrade their filtration systems at schools. But I do want to give some more recent feedback that we've been hearing, because now, like for example, in Shafter and in some of our other communities, we're re-engaging with schools on this exact topic. And I think some years have passed since some of those upgrades have happened. Right now, we are hearing interest again from schools that they, want to participate in this program, including in Shafter. And again, of course, we want to do that outreach and have that engagement in Arvin and Lamont. But I do want to share that feedback, as we are, we did hear at one point that folks did not want to take advantage, but now kind of, this year in 2026, we're again starting to hear that interest from schools. So that's a really positive thing for us, that, we can engage with them in that way. And so I did want to share, things have changed a little bit over the past few years with schools and their availability to use these funds.
Thank you for adding that, Stephanie. This is Liz. So already hearing some support for approving this expansion of the Clean Air Rooms program, and of course, interest in doing outreach to the schools to make sure that they can take advantage of that program. How are others feeling? Other CSC members? Do you agree with Gustavo? Do you feel ready to approve this expansion, or do you still have any questions or concerns? I see a thumbs up from Mario and Elvia. Thank you. How are others feeling? We definitely don't want to ever assume that silence means approval, so feel free to share any perspective that you have. And I see more agreement with Gustavo in the chat. I see quite a few thumbs up from several CSC members. Thank you, everyone, for showing your agreement. So I think I will pause since I'm not seeing any more questions come up. So I will ask if there are any objections to approving this expansion of the Clean Air Rooms program.
This is Stephanie. Liz, I wonder, would it be helpful if I shared my screen again? We have two different kind of distinct and different decisions, so I'm happy to share one and then I can share the other two, just so there's no, we're all clear on kind of the different opportunities.
Awesome.
And sorry, this is Stephanie. I am realizing the one thing that I do think we've talked a lot about this, but I'm realizing I think neglected to mention it in other parts of the slide, is where we see an opportunity to move the funding from is from the heavy duty truck replacement measure. That I think we've talked over a few meetings of just the challenges that of implementing it. And of course, we'll continue to do outreach on this because it's a measure that reduces a lot of emissions. But just given the challenges, we think right now is a good opportunity to start kind of, pulling from that measure to help support other measures that are in need. So that's something that you'll see noted on this slide.
Thank you, Stephanie, for adding that important context. And I do see one more hand up from Mario. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to see it. These these purifiers on for preschool for the little kids. That'd be pretty nice to see.
Yes.
I just want to comment that.
Thank you, Mario. Appreciate your suggestion. And that is another one of the asks from the Air District if we do approve both adding funds to the Clean Air Rooms program and then additionally expanding that to sensitive receptors. They're definitely looking to hear feedback from you all on what locations to do that outreach. And so hearing schools and preschools for sure. Thank you. I just want to check if folks feel clear about the decision tonight. Do you have any questions about what we are asking from you? How are folks feeling about this? Thank you. I see a thumbs up from Gustavo. And so is there any opposition to moving that additional funds to the Clean Air Rooms program? The 250,000 to the Clean Air Rooms program is one part of the decision. So any opposition to that? Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing any opposition.
I think we should vote like that. We could be everybody be in the same point. Just to vote right now and we could fix this real quick.
Appreciate you sharing that, Mario. And I think our usual practice is before we go to a formal vote, we do try to do this less formal consensus building. And so if we do hear opposition tonight, if there are a few strong opinions that would not like to approve these two expansions, then we would come back at our next meeting and officially hold a vote. But for tonight, we're going to do this consensus building. And so again, if you do feel strongly that you would not like to approve these two dimensions of expanding the project, please do let us know tonight and let us know what your concerns are. And again, I'm not seeing or hearing any opposition to at least that first piece to expand the Clean Air Rooms program by adding $250,000. And then we have the other part of our decision, which is to add an additional $250,000 also to expand the program to sensitive receptors. And so I didn't hear any opposition to that first half of the decision to expand the Clean Air Rooms program. And now I will see if there's any opposition to expanding the Clean Air Rooms program to include sensitive receptors, such as the schools that folks have been mentioning. So are there any concerns? Questions? Okay. I'm not seeing anything. I see a little celebration from Gustavo. So I think we have reached consensus in tonight's meeting. And since we did not hear any opposition, we will not have to come to a formal vote. And so I'm not sure, Stephanie, if there's anything you want to say about any next steps after we've come to these decisions.
Thanks, Liz. This is Stephanie. Like I mentioned, well, congratulations to this group. Really excited to continue, enhancing these programs and bringing this funding and these air quality benefits to Arvin and Lamont, and all of the, these areas. And something I will say, kind of similar to how I mentioned for urban greening, is every time we make kind of modifications to the program, there's work that our district staff internally needs to do to make sure that we can, we have all of the guidelines ready, we have our website and portal ready to take applications and such. So some of that work internally will take time out for us. And once these programs and expansions are available, we will let you all know. So that we can kind of officially start the outreach. But at this point, we just ask you to allow us some time to work with our different partners and kind of do that stuff that we need to internally. And again, once these programs are officially open, we'll notify the CSC and we'll continue to bring updates to you all in future meetings about how this is rolling out.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. This is Liz. And so, as we heard, it sounds like there is more to come, but also want to congratulate you all for reaching consensus and coming up with these ways to provide some relief for community members. And since I'm not seeing any other comments, I think we can move on to our last agenda item, which is standing updates. And Amy, I think you will be taking this part.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Liz. This is Amy. Congratulations again on showing your interest and making sure that you are moving forward with the Clean Air Rooms program. So before we move into standing updates, just want to remind folks that this is an opportunity for agencies, both the Air District and other agencies working in the community, to provide you all with an update on things that are happening within the boundary. So tonight we have the pleasure of having several agency folks join us tonight. We're going to go ahead and kick off our updates by inviting Caltrans, and I see Jason is here tonight to provide us with an update on the last action item. Jason, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is Jason Adair with Caltrans. Thank you, everybody, for letting me be here. I really appreciate it. Everybody hear me? Thumbs up? Yeah? Okay, good. Tonight, I'm going to give a visual representation of, the pedestrian improvements that are going to go on, that are proposed for the Arvin CAP-M project, which in the March meeting, community members did bring up the fact that the Walnut Drive and State Route 223 intersection was definitely an area of concern for pedestrians. So I'm not going to expand much further than that. Just give this about 10 minutes or so, right, to get this update done. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start us off in actually Bakersfield, because there's actually a pedestrian beacon, hybrid beacon that was put on State Route 204, which is also known as Union Avenue at 8th Street, that I would just like to show you, right? Because that will represent what is actually going to be put in there on State Route 223 in Arvin. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. If I could get a thumbs up, just to cool.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Okay. So I don't want to make anybody motion sickness here, so I'll try not to do that. But so this is the intersection. It's kind of an odd intersection here on State Route 204, Union Avenue in Bakersfield at 8th Street. So if you'll notice, this project was actually completed a few years ago. And this is an overhead view, right? A satellite view of the actual crosswalk that was basically striped, right? Is actually painted into onto the roadbed, and then you can see that the median was reworked so people can get across there. Here's a beacon here and a beacon here. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the street view. So this is facing northbound on State Route 204. So here's the beacon itself for the northbound traffic, right? So here's the crosswalk I was showing you in an overhead view. The median has been cut out, right? So, folks can get through there. As you can see, there's a pedestrian here crossing using it. So this is the actual, the button that you could press, to alert the beacon, right? So as a pedestrian comes up, they can hit this button here, and then that will actually start the beacon. So the traffic, will see that the beacon is lit up and that there's, pedestrians in the intersection. You'll notice there's a line painted here, for the traffic to stop behind, right? Yeah, this is in Bakersfield, but again, this is going to represent what is, and again, it may not be exactly like this, right? This beacon is a couple of years old. Over time, sometimes, standards get tweaked a little bit here and there, but overall, this is the type of beacon that is going to go in at the intersection there in Arvin. So there's that, right? We got that visual representation of the beacon itself. So now we're going to head to Arvin and just quickly kind of recap. The project itself is proposed to start construction late fall, winter of this year, right? And it's a pavement rehabilitation project and then also pedestrian improvement. So tonight, like I said, we're just going to focus on Walnut Drive here and 223 because that came up in the March meeting, right? So we're not going to go too much into the project as a whole, just this particular intersection. But just to recap, the project's going to start right here, right at Comanche, and go all the way to St. Thomas. So that's the proposed limits. And so let's zoom in here to we'll do a street view here of Walnut Drive. So the beacons themselves, right? So one of the beacons this is facing westbound traffic here. So the beacon is going to be put in right here. So the pole and then, the big beacon itself and the apparatus where a pedestrian would push the button is all going to be located right on this corner here, right? This crosswalk will be enhanced as with the same striping that I showed you there. That was done in Bakersfield. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip because this. There we go. That sun was in the way there from the street view. You can see there's pedestrians here. If I scoot back, sorry, you can actually. This kind of reiterates, how important this is from a pedestrian perspective, right? There's 3 kids right there going to school. Another one here getting ready to cross. So this is facing, eastbound into Arvin. The beacon goes here, comes across this way. This turn pocket here, will be ground down, right? So imagine the crosswalk basically coming through here, right? So then on this side, there'll be another beacon for the eastbound traffic, right? So this pole right here will be for the eastbound traffic. And again, any pedestrian that wants to cross Route 223, aka Bear Mountain, will push the button here, alert the beacon. There'll be a line here for the traffic to stop and the pedestrians can get across. All right. So that is what's going on here at Walnut Drive and State Route 223 is that beacon system there that has already been installed. That same type of system that's been installed there at State Route 204 in Bakersfield. And then also this crosswalk here will be enhanced as well. Again, from like the striping on the roadbed itself. And then I know there's another pole here. I'm not sure exactly what that one is, but it's a more of a minor pedestrian alert pole. So that's what's going on there at Walnut Drive and State Route 223, and I know that was important, a very important point in our March meeting. So if there's any questions about that, I'll go ahead and stop sharing right now. I can only do so many things at once.
This is Amy. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for navigating all of the maps and showing us those examples. I'm going to go ahead and pause for a second to see if folks have questions. I see Francisco and Cecilia have a question. Go ahead, Francisco.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Yes, good afternoon. I have a question. The street, are you going to open the street so the traffic can turn left on Walnut or only to the right? Because right now, if you're driving through Walnut, you can only turn right and you cannot turn left because the street is closed and it has something in the middle and you're not able to cross. So I would like to see if you're going to open that space or cut it so the traffic can go left. That's my question.
I'm gonna share my screen once again. I think I understand what you're saying. Oh, okay. So there is a left turn pocket here. What you mean is coming out from Walnut and being able to go westbound? Can we confirm that? So that would be basically being able to go westbound onto 223 from Walnut. Is that what is being asked?
Sí, lo que yo le estoy preguntando
What I'm
es
asking is that when you're coming from Walnut from the high school and you go to the main street on Vermont, there's I think a cement part in the middle and you're not able to turn left. You can only turn right. The only part where you can turn left is when you're coming from the 223 to the east.
So I'm looking at, and again, I have that plan set also that I'm looking at as well. I only showed, what was on, Google Maps. And from the plan set I am looking at, the configuration of that intersection is not changing. Right? So the only changes to that intersection is the pedestrian improvements that are being put in. But as far as adding additional turning, whether you're coming, northbound to 223 and wanting to travel westbound, that can't happen, right? So basically, the only way to get onto 223, you can only basically, if you're coming from the south going north and hit 223, you can only go eastbound. If you're traveling south on Walnut Drive and you hit 223, you'll only be able to go westbound. So there's basically you can't, they're not adding additional right turns or left turns to that intersection. That's what I see on the plan set.
Okay, muchas gracias.
Okay, thank you very much. That was my question. Because yes, you're right. When I'm going through Walnut and I get to Bear Mountain, I can only turn right. I'm not able to turn left. But if I'm coming from the east, I'm able to turn left. But yes, I understood. Thank you very much for your comment.
Correct. Yes. Welcome.
Thank you both. This is Amy. Maria, go ahead with your question, please.
Yes, I just want to know how safe is that for foggy days that Yeah, light up enough for people to see that they're crossing.
I'd have to look into, like, I'm sure they might have some studies on what distances. But again, it's probably would just be like as if you're approaching a kind of a standard signal traffic light, right? I can't really attest to what
Yeah.
distance. I know it gets horribly foggy in the South Valley. I completely understand.
Yeah,
I guess the only thing I can really say is there is an audible component to these beacons too, but that's more for the pedestrian, right? So, yeah, but in terms of, again, how safe it is in the fog, it would and again, this is an assumption that it would be similar to a standard traffic light. However, there are more, right? So generally a traffic signal would probably have just one red light, maybe two, on the signal pole itself, whereas this one would have a fewer more. Now, whether or not that makes a difference, I can't attest to that.
do they have lights in the bottom? When a person cross, they have lights in the bottom.
So, I know I'll have to look into that now, but I do know, right, that there are other pedestrian improvements. There's a different style that actually is going in on this project that I was going to cover at subsequent meetings. So I can bring that question along, and I understand what you're saying. Lighting on the ground, right?
Yeah, they have one right there at the homeless shelter right there in Truxton.
Gotcha. I'm gonna, with the beacon system, I don't normally see that, but the other beacon systems that are going in along the project that I'll get to in subsequent meetings, they do have that, but I can double check. Maybe they've made that improvement and now this beacon system does come with lighting on the ground, but
Yeah,
I don't see that right now.
I would like to see it right there in Arvin because it gets really foggy over there. And a lighting system on the ground would be really good for Arvin. I think that's the best idea to do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. Christine, please go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I had a couple questions specific to Walnut. And Jason, if you need to reach out to me at the city to answer that question, that would be great. But my understanding is on the westbound lane of Highway 223. So let's say you're traveling down Highway 223 towards the Walnut intersection. There's supposed to be an extended turn lane going to the right into Walnut for the future development of some retail that we have coming in there. So I wanted to check and find out whether or not that is on the plan. I know we submitted a traffic study and that was granted by Caltrans, but I'd like to know whether or not that exists on these plans or if not, when that's going to happen. And then other than that, my comment on the ground lighting, I know it sounds great, but it's actually the experience for those types of lights. They get destroyed and they don't work very good and they're super high maintenance. So I 100% agree with Mario. There should be something there, but maybe it's a flashing light that's on a pole before that intersection or before that crosswalk to notify vehicles as they're traveling down Walnut, approaching that crosswalk, that they need to be alerted because the in-ground devices, they simply are super hard to maintain and they don't necessarily work. And after getting run over by all these semi trucks, my concern is that they might work for 6 months and then not work at all. And that's not going to be helpful. So I'm thinking something more solar on a pole in front of the crosswalk that activates, or even that is solar powered that just flashes to let people know they're approaching a crosswalk area might be safer in the long run. Thank you.
And just to clarify, I'm looking at the plan set at the intersection there. I do see that extended westbound turn lane on
I just wanted to make sure. I was kind of panicked that
Yeah.
it wouldn't be there, and that's really important too. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
not an engineer, but right, so I'll get you the answers eventually. But yeah, I can see that here on that plan set. I've looked at it a lot. So yep.
Okay, awesome. And I'm looking forward to the other improvements. I know there's a lot of them at multiple crosswalk areas and lots of pavement markers as well. So that's really going to benefit the students crossing along the highway. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
This is Amy. Thank you. And it's great to see all the enthusiasm around these community improvement plans. I'm going to pass it to Tim for one more question before we move on to the next update. Tim?
Yeah, my question was regarding the center divider at 223. Is it gonna be narrowed down like it was narrowed down in Weepatch Highway? Experience, I went this Saturday to Arvin and I was crisscrossing the roads, and I noticed that when you go into certain businesses and pull out due to street parking, you aren't able to see oncoming traffic down 223. So it's like either the narrowing of the center divider to allow the widening of the road would be better, or no street parking certain hours because it does not allow for visibility of oncoming traffic when you're trying to make a right turn going westbound.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna have to research that one. I'm looking at the plan set. I'm looking at the median. It does look like it's getting a little skinnier, but I don't want to say that for sure. Let me bring that to the next meeting and just table that for now, and I will get back to you on that in terms of if they're going to basically widen the roadbed for visibility's sake is what you're getting at.
Yes, because then currently how it is, if people park on the street level next to the sidewalk, and it does not allow for visibility of oncoming vehicles, you have to push out forward more, and then like that is potentially a car accident right there to begin with. And the road is so narrow, so either the narrowing of the center divider is what's going to occur there, or there won't be no street parking on what's considered Arvin's Main Street.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you're specifically not so much if you're on 223 and you get into a turn pocket, you're coming off of the local roads onto 223, cars are parked, you can't see, and you got to edge out into State Route 223, and that's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, I had to go pick up a delivery over there, and then I went to the Starbucks that they have there. I went in, and as I was leaving, I was like noticing, I was like, wow, like you can't see oncoming traffic because the cars are parked on the road, so it doesn't you have to like pull out to see completely full traffic.
So basically, kind of reducing the median. That way, cars can get more into the center of the road, give people more opportunity to see around parked cars. Okay. I will get that question answered for us by the next meeting. So can I just get a review? So there's that action item. What is there any other action items I need to bring to the next meeting? And again, right, so my plan is I'm just going to go, whether I'll have the other intersections kind of laid out in terms of the pedestrian improvements. I may only be able to get through one or two, but from this point forward, right up into construction, I'll just be here to update as we go. So
this is Amy. Thank you, Jason, for that clarity and for those updates. So at future meetings, if you could, bring a response to Tim's question, and then it sounds like just clarifying some of that lighting that's going to be around, and those will be, and then of course, any other updates that you have at that time.
Yeah.
And so we'll continue to add you as a standing update, and course, as you know, as you've joined these meetings, if there's a more substantial update and that needs more community updates or community inputs, that's when things turn into an agenda item potentially, as opposed to a standing update. But for now, it sounds like it'd be great to have you back for any kind of project updates that you might have. So thank you so much, Jason. At this time, we're going to transition to opening the floor for Current Energy to provide some updates. I see there are several staff here from Current Energy. Would love to invite folks to provide an update.
This is Stephanie. I actually do think, as far as I know, I don't know that there's actually any standing updates for on the Current Energy side. So I think we can keep moving through the list of agencies.
Okay, I see Cesar has his hand raised. Go ahead, Cesar.
Yeah, thank you. I'm wondering, since we were talking about it, there was a 75-barrel oil spill in the early part of May at the Energy refinery, which is around like 3,000 gallons of oil that was spilled. And I'm wondering if either the district or Current Energy or anyone else have updates on whether there's like any soil remediation that needs to be had or how the cleanup is going.
This is Stephanie. I myself don't have updates on this project, but I definitely am taking notes right now on that, and I can certainly follow up with the team and bring updates and get them back to you, Cesar.
Okay, thank you. And I put the OES spill report in the chat as well.
This is Amy. Thank you. Jesus, did you have a comment?
Yeah, sorry. The comment was, yeah, I'd definitely like to see an update on that, especially since we have the hydrogen project taking place there. Yeah, it just raises some concerns.
This is Amy. Thank you, Jesus, for voicing your comments. Great. At this time, I'd like to invite, I think I'm looking around the room. I'm not sure that Aniela is here tonight. Did I see Jimmy earlier?
Hello.
Do we have any updates from DPR, Jimmy?
Not really an update. It's just more of a reminder. So, oh God, when is the subcommittee, the pesticide subcommittee? I think that's June 17th.
June 16th.
June 16th. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, so June 16th, DPR will be we'll have a presentation regarding DPR's new website. Basically, we're going to be talking about some new tools on our website to help people find documentation or reports. And that's pretty much it from DPR side.
That sounds great. Looking forward to that subcommittee meeting happening next month. All right, well, we're gonna transition to the Air District to have some updates for us that have not been shared thus far in the meeting.
Thanks, Amy. Danny Gonzalez here with the Outreach and Communications team. Good evening, everybody. Just two quick little updates. If Nancy can share that slide. Thank you, Nancy. So the first is that we are looking to distribute, just as previous summers, educational material out to the community, to different libraries, schools, community centers, and other community partners. So that is to come next month in June. And the second update that we're pretty excited about is the Outreach and Communications team is going to be partnering up with the Arvin Branch Library. We were cordially invited to be part of their summer reading program, essentially reading to young community residents of Arvin. So something really excited about because it gives us an opportunity to connect in some non-traditional ways with the community, along with their parents. So they are expecting a high participation rate from the Arvin Lamont area. So that is set for July 7th. So looking forward to that. And as always, any other events that you are aware of that are happening this summer or in the coming fall, please let us know. We're always open to participating, and the more boots on the ground that we have, the better we can outreach and educate the public. Thank you.
This is Amy. Thank you so much, Danny. Any questions before we move on, or any other agencies that are not listed in our agenda but would like to share an update that impacts the community? Stephanie?
Sorry about that. Just finding my unmute button. A couple of things is I was going to say, and just say, since we're all in this meeting together, that pesticide subcommittee that's happening on June 16th is our usual, kind of the usual time that we normally do. It'll be from 4 to 5:30. And again, we'll have a couple of different folks on that team presenting about the different tools and resources. Kind of new, these are actually new ones that that DPR wanted to get in front of everyone. So I think that'll be an exciting update to folks. I do have an update and kind of something I wanted to share about the June meeting. But before I get there, I did just want to share that given kind of the committee's interest in this project and the feedback that we heard in the agenda setting, I did want to share an update that the permit for the current energy project was approved. I know that many folks in the community were able to attend that public hearing that we held in Lamont back in January, able to learn about the project and ask lots of great questions. And again, I want to thank everyone who was able to attend that and to provide comments to us. We did go through a robust process to review and respond to each one of those comments that we received. And I'll drop into the chat a link to a document that basically has all of kind of the information related to this project, including all of the comments that we received and all of the kind of responses to them. And definitely feel free to take a look at that and share with anyone that might be interested. I do think, Amy, I don't know if right now is a good time to share about June, or if you want to wrap up this update, and then maybe as we move to next steps, I'll hop back in about the June meeting.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie. This is Amy. Yeah, perfect timing. So as we wrap up today's meeting, just want to remind folks that we have our agenda setting meeting that's set for June 4th. So that will be next week from 4 to 5 via Zoom. And we do have a scheduled on the calendar that is meeting scheduled for June 24th. But, you know, I think the Air District has been reflecting on all of the work that has been approved by the CSC and is rapidly implementing a lot of these projects. So I want to invite the Air District to give some updates regarding potentially moving that meeting, especially given that June 16th will be the next pesticide subcommittee meeting, which all of you also attend. Stephanie?
Yeah, thanks, Amy. And I just wanted to share again, I wanted to thank everyone for all of the great engagement in this meeting. I think over the past few meetings, this group has made so many big and kind of crucial decisions, like Cesar mentioned at the beginning of the meeting. And all of this, I think, is going to lead to a lot of great momentum in the SERP. And in the coming months, as we've kind of heard the support from the CSC, we'll be working in the next few weeks. It will take us some time to kind of implement all of these kind of modifications and enhancements that we've been talking about in the meeting. And in past years, and you all might remember this from the past 2 years, we've tended to take the June meeting off just to allow some folks some time to enjoy summer with families and, you know, friends. And we've tended to take the June meeting off, as well as the July agenda setting meeting, because the July agenda setting meeting will be June 3rd, which I know a lot of folks take that week of, you know, with July 4th off and might be spending time with family and traveling. So I did want to just bring that up for the CSC, and if there's kind of no huge objections, then we'll plan to move or for our next meeting to be that July meeting, which is that fourth Wednesday, our usual July meeting. That'll be kind of our next meeting. But like Amy said, in between now and then in June, we'll see you all for that pesticide subcommittee.
Any questions or comments or concerns about the change in schedule? I do see a clarifying question from CSC in the chat. Will those documents for the current energy project be shared over the AB 617 listserv? Well, it looks like you just shared the link, Stephanie. And there's your answer, CSC in committee. So you should have that link there. Okay, well, with that said, I'd like to wrap up the meeting before we open it up for public comment. So I'd love to invite CSC to add any closing remarks to today's meeting. CSC?
Yeah, just a big thank you to everyone that asked questions and participated, and happy that we were able to move forward with both of the measures. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, CSC. And Stephanie, any closing remarks?
Thanks, Amy. This is Stephanie, and I just want to echo Cesar and just thank everyone. There's such big kind of milestones in this meeting to approve both the urban greening proposals, to kind of decide on 2 different enhancements for the Clean Air Room program. So like I mentioned, we on the district side will be working diligently to implement these measures, and we'll of course bring updates to you all. And kind of the next times we'll see you throughout the summer is we'll have that June 16th pesticide subcommittee and our regular July CSC meeting. But of course, I just want you all to know, just because you might not see us in a meeting, our team is always available to you all. So don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. As you all have events, throughout the summer, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to stop into the community for any summer events. And yeah, aside from that, I hope everyone, I know we're just starting, and we'll see you throughout the couple of months, but I just want to wish everyone a happy summer. And I know a lot of folks get time off to spend with family, and I hope everyone is taking some time to just rest and kind of, enjoy your time with family.
This is Amy. Thank you, Stephanie. And seeing that folks had issues with the link, and so there's a second link that was provided in the chat. If you'd like to see that public comment, and that package is available on 2 links that were provided in the chat. Just want to echo the Air District and CSC's comments, thanking everyone for always being ready to engage and make some decisions and ask the difficult questions that matter to ensure that these resources are being spent in your community. With that said, I'm going to open it up to public comment. So as you guys know, we stream live on YouTube. So I'm just going to check that to make sure we don't have any questions or comments. And I'm not seeing anything from the live public feed. Anyone on today's call from the public that would like to share anything? CSC, please go ahead.
To make this announcement, but we're going to be having watch parties at the Arvin Library tomorrow for the California Air Resources Board's vote for the cap and trade. This is something that, if approved as is, could eliminate funding for AB 617. So definitely a huge decision being made by CAR board tomorrow. And if you have time from 9 to 1, please see us at the Arvin library. We're going to be in the community room with some refreshments and food, and hopefully you can speak up to share your experience on what being on the committee has been like, and to protect the funding for AB 617. Thank you.
And I'll just add that I did drop a link in case somebody didn't notice, a link to the agenda for tomorrow.
Thank you, Michelle, for providing that link as well. All right, well, with that said, we are closing tonight's meeting. I'm looking forward to seeing folks at the pesticide subcommittee meeting, and then reconvening for the agenda setting meeting that we'll have June 4th. That will set the agenda for the July meeting. All right, well, thank you all for your time. Good night, and happy June.
Buenas noches a todos y gracias.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much. Have a good night. Good evening.
Buenas noches.
Good night. Good night.
Buenas noches. Gracias, buenas noches.
Good night. Thank you.